Hi, this is Redbird. I'm coming to you today to talk to you about a vision that I had back in 1983. It's about the second coming of Jesus. I was staying at my parents'. I was sleeping in their guest room, and about 2 a.m. I was awakened by someone firmly shaking my right arm. And I woke up and I looked over because I thought it was probably my dad. And I looked over and there was nobody there. But I heard a voice say, "Look at the time." And I looked at the clock on the bedstand and it was 5 minutes till 2. The second hand was on the 9 and it was rounding its way up to the 12. And as soon as it hit the 12, I felt like a huge finger press on my forehead, and it paralyzed me, made me paralyzed from head to toe. Couldn't move a finger, couldn't move an eyelid. I saw two hands in front of me of purple light. They were just floating in the air. They moved their way all the way back to my head, reached in through my skull, and they opened what seemed to be an eye back there that had been mattered shut, like all crusted over. And it's like they went like this. They opened the eye. And as soon as the eye was opened, I started watching a movie that was being played on the wall at the foot of the bed. What I saw was like some frames that started the movie, like 3, 2, 1. And then the movie started. There was a young boy about the age of 12 on the screen. He was wearing green knee pants and a green vest and a green fez, little hat. And he didn't have any shoes on, wasn't wearing a shirt, just the green vest. And the green vest had stripes, about 1-inch stripes of gold in it. And the 1-inch stripes of gold were actually real stripes of real gold. And they looked like little fish scales. And I was able to zoom in on these little stripes of gold, and then next thing I know, I noticed that I had the material in my hand and I could lift up the little pieces, the little fish scales. I could lift up and see how they were exactly made. They're made by like weaving thin gold wires through the material and hooking them out and twisting them and then flattening, hammering those flat to make scales. And then there were like about 4 scales on each row, and they were just all stripes all the way down. All the way around the vest, about every inch. It's like an inch of gold, inch of green, inch of gold, inch of green. Anyways, when I let go of the material, it fell alongside of me, and I realized I'm the boy in the video, or the movie. And so I look around, and I'm in a field. Just a flat meadow, a huge plain, and as far as the eye can see, it's just a meadow, nothing else in it, no mountains, no trees, just a grassy meadow for as far as the eye can see. Well, it's noon and the sun is out and it's beating on me, and I'm thinking it's pretty warm, I better get out of the sun. So I think I need to find some shade. And as soon as I thought I need to find some shade, now all of a sudden there's a huge shade tree in the meadow. It's a distance away, so I need to walk over there to it. And as I start walking over to it, as I'm getting closer, I notice that there are people underneath the tree. As I get closer, I see that one of the persons under the tree is a woman, and I recognize her as my mom. She's wearing white clothing that is like a biblical style clothing of what they wore back then, and it's white and then it has blue trim, and it reminds me of the Israeli flag. Don't really know why, but it's my mom. And she, as I approach and get closer to her, she looks at me and she says, "Hi," and I'm like, "Hi, Mom." And she's like, she motions like, "What side are you gonna sleep on?" And as she motions and asks me that question, I look to where she's motioning to, and now there's a huge building right there where there was nothing before. And the building looks like it's a church, and has 2 doors in the front, and the doors are open. And I noticed that there's a wall built in the middle of the door, parting the church in two. And then on one side there's a window, on the other side there's another window. So it's symmetrical. Whatever's on one side of the church is on the other side. Except one side of the church looks like it's completely finished, that it had enough money to totally finish the church. The other half is only the 4 stone walls and no windows, no doors. The completed side had stained glass windows, wooden doors, carpets, Greek and Roman columns, curtains, padded pews, beautiful, gold, lighting, blue and pink lighting. Everything on that side was blue and pink. It's odd, but that's what it was. On the side that wasn't finished, there was no floor, there was no roof, no windows where the windows should be, just holes. But like I said, the 4 walls. And then in the back, there was like a doorway to the outside on the one side, and in the back on the other side there was a doorway to the outside. It had French doors. On the side that wasn't completed, it had no doors. And then on the wall in the middle, it was a solid wall all the way to the back of the church, where there was one doorway which you could pass through to the other side. Anyways, while I'm looking at all of this, my mom is wanting to know which side I'm going to sleep on. And so as I'm pondering this and looking at everything, and I noticed that, oh, well, now there's a line of people going into the church, and they're all going in on the side that's all fancy and fixed up. And now I notice that it's not just a line of people, that it is a sea of people in that meadow, which was just a meadow for as far as you could see, now is people for as far as you can see. And they're all funneling in to the side that's completed. And the scripture comes to me that narrow is the way unto righteousness, and few are they that find it. But broad is the path to destruction, and many shall enter therein. So because the many were going into that side, I decided I didn't want to go on that side. And I told my mom, I'm going to go in over here on this side, the non-finished side. And she said, well, I'm an old woman, and I need my comfort, and I need my rest. And so I'm going to go in on the other side that's got all the cushions and everything. So we parted ways. She went her way and I went mine. I go into the uncompleted half, and as I'm going in there, I have a roll of some sheepskins that I roll out, and it's my bed. I lay down and I'm looking up at the stars. And as I'm looking up at the stars, I notice that a couple white lines are being drawn to the stars, like someone's playing connect the dots with the stars. So I'm like, I wonder if anybody else sees that in here. And so I start to look around to see if there's anybody else awake or whatever. And I notice there's some brown humps here and there throughout the side of the church that I'm on. But I sense that these people are asleep and I can't wake them up, and what comes to me is that they are dead asleep, like they have the sleep of the dead. So I think they're probably dead. But anyways, I know I can't wake them up, so I just lay down. I'm looking up at the stars again and watching the stars being played connect the dot with, and the entire zodiac gets drawn out. I see Libra and Scorpio, and the Big Dipper is played connect the dot with. So I figure God's the only one who can draw lines between the stars. So I just, inside my heart, ask God, why are you drawing lines to the stars? And especially like the zodiac, because I thought the zodiac was evil. That's what I always got taught. It's fortune telling, and so that's evil. And all of a sudden I felt God poking my chest, and he said, so that you know I put them there. So I'm like, oh, well, God put those zodiac signs there, so I better rethink that. But in the meantime, I'm like thinking, somebody else has got to see this. There's got to be somebody up to see this. And as I'm looking around, I noticed that at the back door of the church on the half that I'm at, there's a woman standing out on the veranda out there, and she's looking up at the sky also. So I'm thinking, oh, she's seeing what I see. So as I start walking up to her, her back's towards me, and as I start walking up to her, I think, oh, it's my sister. And as I get closer, I'm like, nope, it's not my sister, it's my sister-in-law. And I come right up to her, and I tap her on the shoulder, and she turns to look at me, and I'm like, it's not my sister or my sister-in-law. And the thought comes to me that it is my sister-in-law. And it's very separated like that. Sister-in-law. Now, she has the greenest eyes I've ever seen. I don't know who this girl is, but she did not see what I saw, because when I asked her, did you see that back over there? She says, back over there, look over there, and she points straight ahead of us, and there are 7 stars, and they're about this big, and they're one on top of each other, about an inch apart, and they are brightly shining, so bright that now the night sky is daytime. It's so bright, and from bottom to top, they flash, and they also let out a tone, and they go tring, tring, tring. Does it 3 times, and then now each star from bottom to top splits in half. You can see them split all in half, and now all at the same time, all 7 stars, each half moves apart. At the same time, they move apart, and as they move apart, you can see beyond the blue sky. You can see into heaven, and there's a white horse walking down in the sky, and there's a rider on the horse, and the rider on the horse is wearing a crown, and it's Jesus, and with him are a multitude of people, horses and people walking, people riding horses, and they're all coming down, and he gets almost to the stars, the star gate doors that were open, and I realize he's coming here for us, and my mom is on the other side, and I don't think he's going to come over there for them. So I got to go get her and drag her to this side. So I go back in the church, and I go through that connecting door, and as I'm trying to, I look for my mom, and as I'm searching for her, I notice that there's only 10 people awake, and they're all women, and 5 of them are dressed in blue and 5 are dressed in pink. And the thought comes to me that these are the 10 virgins that is talked about in the Bible, the parable of the 10 virgins. Anyways, I ask one of them where my mom is, and they say she's asleep on the pew right there. Get it? And my mom was representative of the church, and the church is asleep on the pew. But anyways, so I find my mom, and I try to wake her up, and she won't wake up. I say, Mom, wake up. And she won't wake up. And, excuse me. Sorry about that. Anyways, I try to wake my mom up. And I get so frantic. I try to wake her up. Mom, wake up. She won't wake up. And I tip the pew over completely. Just tip it over. She comes rolling off of it. I'm like, Mom, wake up. Jesus is coming. Jesus is coming. And she doesn't wake up. And all of a sudden I hear something come in through the doors on that side of the church. And I'm thinking, oh, well, maybe Jesus is coming on this side of the church. So I say to her, Mom, wake up. Jesus is here. When I say to her, Mom, wake up. Jesus is here, she wakes up. And she looks over at him, and she looks at him, and she smiles, and she says, oh, Jesus. Well, now I'm noticing his feet are right by her face, and his feet have long, dirty toenails. And I'm like thinking, my Jesus would not have long, dirty toenails. My Jesus would have perfectly manicured feet. Because I know if I was his servant, I'd make sure of that. So Uh, anyways, I look up at his face, and he looks just like Jesus. So I'm like thinking, oh, well, it is him. And I look back at the feet, and I see the dirty toenails. I'm like, no, that's not Jesus. So I say, no, Mom, that's not Jesus. That's Satan. And she looks up at him, and she looks me straight in the eyes, and she says, no, Jesus. I look at him again. I'm like thinking, dang, he looks like Jesus. Look at his toes. I'm like, not Jesus. Look at the face. Jesus. Look at the toes. Not Jesus. So I'm confused, and I say a little prayer. I say, Lord, I don't believe this guy's Jesus. Show me the difference. And I get 2 words. The crown. So I look at him again, and he's not wearing that crown I saw on Jesus' head. That thick gold crown that has been beaten from one piece of gold into a crown. I did not see that on his head, and he was wearing a crown of laurel leaves. Gold, but gold laurel leaves. Well, now, so I say to my mom, no, that's Jesus, that's Satan. And he starts laughing, and he says, you're mine. And he says it so matter-of-factly like I'm his kid. And I say to him, it's not your decision whose I am. And he starts laughing at me, and he says, marijuana and cocaine. Well, I'm thinking to myself, well, I smoked marijuana and cocaine. I had a problem with both of them. Probably, I was a drug addict at one point in time. But coke really never held any attraction for me. And pot, I could take it or leave it. So I thought it was rather funny that he said that. So I tried to drag my mom out of the room over to the other side away from him. And I can't drag her. She's like lead. I can't move her at all. So then I think to myself, well, I have to save myself. I can't worry about her, and I need to get myself on the other side. And before I can get to the other side, the hands close the eye in the back, and they come out. The finger comes off of my head, and I'm no longer paralyzed, and I'm told to look over at the clock, and it's exactly 2 a.m. The second hand is moving from the 9 to the 12, and I've been released. Well, now, my body is in tremors. My body is shaking so violently, and I can feel that it is afraid. My flesh body is in fear of dying. But me, inside my body, my spirit is calm, because my body just had the most wonderful experience with God. But my flesh did not like it. My flesh was afraid of dying in the presence of God. And I also had imparted to me the knowledge that everything that is in the Bible is true, that Satan is real, God is real, and that we have a clear enemy in Satan, that Jesus is the only begotten Son of God, that he came here, he died on a cross, so that we could have salvation, so we can be saved, and that we can have eternal life with God, that we don't have to die with Satan. Satan has a sentence. Satan has been sentenced to death. He's the only one. We don't have to go with him. We have a recourse. All we have to do is believe that Jesus, the Son of God, came here and he took our penalty. We're worthy of death. It says, for every man has sinned and is worthy of death. And Jesus, who came here, never sinned. And yet he paid the penalty of death for never sinning. So he gets to let anyone who was a sinner use his death for theirs. It's sort of like a get out of jail free card. And it was legal wrangling by God. And that's what we have. We have this ability to save, to be saved through the blood of Jesus Christ. So, but anyways, Bible's true. You know, So all I can tell you. There's other things I want to talk to you guys about, but for now, this should be good enough. Thank you very much for your time, and I'm out. Talk to you later.